The following is a Goulash Media production. goulashmedia.net.
Welcome to the System is Down.
What is up, Downers? Welcome back to the least comfortable show on the web. It is, of course, as you know, the System is Down, the place where we talk about all the uncomfortable, anti-politically correct, anti-taboo topics, all the things that make you go, ew, the things that your family prays you don't bring up around the Thanksgiving dinner table, things like conspiracies, politics, and religion. And we're doing something different today, but we are not breaking that format because we're going to be talking about all those things, conspiracies, politics, and religion. If you are one of the many people who tune into the show every single Monday morning for your weekly dose of discomfort, welcome back. I love you more than I could possibly say. And if you're one of the few people who staggered in for this episode, if you're new here, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure having you. Go find the person who invited you, give him a big hashtag #MeToo, kiss on the mouth, and a slap on the rear from me and from you, because I appreciate you being here, of course, and you're going to appreciate what we're doing here today, I imagine, because you saw the title and you clicked on it for a reason, and everything is going according to our plan. So we are doing something different today. I had a couple interviews set up. This show is typically an interview show, if you're not familiar. Typically I have on people who are experts in the conspiracy worlds, and the politics worlds, and the religious worlds, and all the things to talk about controversial matters. However, my interview for this week got postponed, got pushed back a little bit. It has happened now, but I'm going to hold off on it for another week because I wanted to talk about something important, which is this right here. This Tom Macdonald's album, Ghostories. If you're not familiar, we'll get into that here in just a minute, but before we do, I got to remind you guys about the Downers Club, which is the Patreon program that keeps this show going, growing, getting bigger, better, more beautiful every single week. And in supporting the show, you get weekly bonus episodes where we do all sorts of fun things, much more fun and offensive content than is even allowed in the real show, which is already wild and offensive. So let's get into this. This is, like I said, this is not our typical format. We're going off base here. We're going to do, because it's my show and I can do what I want, I can just sit back and chat with myself about an album. I was gonna have, I wanted to have somebody else on to chat about this and review this with me and dig into this with me. However, the problem is that Tom Macdonald doesn't release his full-length albums on streaming services. He does not put them in stores. You can only get this thing right here. You can only get it in this format, in this CD format, autographed. Every single one is autographed by the man himself through his website at, I believe it's hangovergang.com, and I'll put links to the actual place in the show notes below. But I wanted to talk about it because nobody's reviewing this album. All the reviewers, all the typical album reviewers aren't reviewing it. Reason being, you can only get it there. It's the reason why I can't talk to somebody else about it. It's the reason why nobody's reviewing it. It's the reason why there's nothing about this album online. I couldn't even look up the lyrics to the songs because it's not available anywhere except for exclusively, which we'll talk about that some more. I think it's really cool. But this is going to be just an episode where I crack open my drink and sit back and listen to an album and chat about an album that you probably haven't heard, but I'm going to recommend you do it. It's going to be more than just an album review. It's going to be talking about why the message that he is putting out there is important in today's day and age. It's going to be about some of the content that he's talking about, breaking the songs down a little bit here and there. We won't dig too deeply. I'm not going to go into in-depth reviews of each song because there is, 21 songs on this album. It is a beast. It is almost an hour and a half long. And I'm going to listen to each song because I can't pull up the lyrics and just comment on certain things that he said because the lyrics don't exist anywhere else except for in the singles that he's put out. So we will go through it track by track, and I will give you my thoughts, and I'll tell you what the messages are, and I'll tell you why I think they matter. But that's what we're going to do today because, again, my show. I'll do what I want. And it's been a good, 28, 29, 30 episodes since I've done a solo episode. And I'm going to enjoy it. I hope that you enjoy it too. And before we do, I'll just go ahead and say that I give this album my recommendation. I would say go check it out, go buy it. Obviously, it's not. I'm not reviewing it to tell you how bad it is. I'm reviewing it to tell you that it is definitely worth a listen, even though it's going to be a little bit more difficult for people to find, the kids to find in today's day and age when things are, if they're not free or if they're not readily at your fingertips, then you won't purchase them or access them. But I do think it is worth the listen and the purchase. So let's get into this. I'm going to go through each track one at a time and talk about what the song is, what the song's about, because if you're not familiar with Tom Macdonald, he's a very politically incorrect, a very controversial figure. He says even at the beginning of his album, most controversial rapper, blah, blah, blah. He's not wrong. He's not wrong. Like, there's Eminem out there who... Eminem I don't find controversial at all anymore. I don't even find Marilyn Manson controversial at all anymore. These people are the people who used to be edgy back in the day. They were pushing against the system, pushing against all the mainstream bullshit. But now people like Eminem and Marilyn Manson, they think that they're edgy because they're being anti-Trump, and that's not edgy. You can get that on The View every day. You can get that anywhere. And Tom Macdonald's not like a big hardcore Trump supporter, from what I understand, but he is going back to what made people like Marilyn Manson, Eminem edgy to begin with, which is calling out the system, not just a guy who people don't like. He's not just saying Orange Man bad, because that's not edgy or interesting or funny or anything at all. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing because it's everything. So yeah, if you're not familiar, he's put out a bunch of singles online. He's put out, off this album, he has put out Everybody Hates Me. It was pretty much when I got on the Tom Macdonald bandwagon. But as you can see, I did buy his last album too. He has put out Sad Rappers, Ashes to Ashes. He's put out Straight White Male, If I Was Black, and what else? He's put out Buttholes. Like, lots of good stuff that he has put out. They are completely free on YouTube. If you want to listen to them, they're on all the streaming services, but he does not put out the full-length album on its own. Additionally, I will say before I jump into this that I have tried contacting Tom Macdonald a couple times. So, Tom, I know that you're a man of the people. I know that you go out and watch people as they talk about things. So this is not just a ploy to try and get you on the show, but if you're listening, I believe strongly that you are perfect for this show, because the things that you talk about are everything that we talk about here: conspiracies, politics, and religion, which are all, in one way or another, they're all mentioned in this album. And I think that you'd be great for the show. What we do here is we just chat about real life things and explore the world together and try and figure out what is real. Even if reality is offensive to you, then that's your problem. I don't know what to tell you. So let's jump into track number one, which is the title track off the album, Ghostories. This song is called Ghostories, obviously. I'm just going to leave a break as I go and listen to it, and then I'll come back. I can't play all the songs, obviously, because then I'll get a freaking copyright strike. But if you own the album and you want to listen along and you want to pause after I say pause and come back, then we can talk about it together. If you are just a person who's interested in my take on the album and haven't heard it, like most people probably are, then I'll see you in a second, but I'm going to check out Ghostories right now, track number one. Here we go. All right, that was Ghostories that we just listened to, not what you were hearing, but I listened to Ghostories, and it's a good song. It's a fun song. It's a good opener. It's a little... So there's going to be a couple different ways that I judge each song. Some of them are on message. Some of them are on... some of them have good message. Some of them have good music. Some of them have a combination of both. And sometimes I find when a artist or a band or somebody gets political, they have a good message, then the musicianship kind of takes a back seat. Overall, I don't feel like he has that problem, but there are some times where the music can be like, okay, it's good, it's fine, but it's not like wow, wow, wow. But at the same time, like, I'm talking about this on a scale, like, you've got if he's preaching a good message over here and the music's okay, then it's good. The message is good enough that it outweighs the artistry, and sometimes the musicianship outweighs the message as well. And I feel like this first song, Ghost Stories, it's kind of it's not like anything super hard hitting as far as the message or anything. He's saying, people are giving me shit for all the controversy that I've been putting out there, which he's put out these songs about race and all sorts of controversial topics. He put out Straight White Male and White Boy and If I Was Black and all those things. He put those out and got a bunch of flack every single time, even if no matter what, he gets hate, he gets shit for it, because that's the outrage culture that we live in. This song is kind of just touching on that. It feels like the first album. I guess it wasn't his first album, but his first album that started blowing up was called Death Threats, and it was I don't know. It was good. It was good. It wasn't quite as hard hitting as some of the stuff on this album. I don't think it was good, but this one, he kind of ties the two together, and it's nice wordplay. He talks about your death threats being ghost stories. So that one was death threats, and this one's ghost stories. And he's just talking about people, giving him shit and him being controversial and that type of thing. So the message is interesting. It's kind of what I expected from the first song on the album. You don't expect him to jump right into, talking about anything crazy controversial. He's just kind of wrapping the whole thing up with the title track being these people are giving him death threats, and he's just calling them ghost stories. He's just saying that they're just full of crap, and he doesn't take people seriously. Well, he takes everything seriously, but he takes it with a grain of salt, because everybody's gonna be a shouter on the internet these days. So that's Ghost Stories. I feel like the instrumentation, the beat, and everything was really, it was good. It didn't blow my mind or anything. It was nice, dark beat, which I enjoyed. Wasn't anything over the top, crazy, cool, like Ashes to Ashes, but we'll get there. But I would say this one's kind of middle ground as far as the message being hard hitting to an extent. It's real. It's not over the line raw or over the top raw. And same with the beat. They're both kind of like right in the middle, where it's like, it's a good Tom Macdonald song, and that's good enough for me. That's a good opener. That's a good way to start it off. Good palette, readier, I suppose. All right, let's get into the next one, which is Everybody Hates Me. This one is a single that came out a long time ago, probably about a year ago online. And like I said at the beginning, this is one of the songs that really got me looking into this guy, because he's a weirdo, he's different, he's everything that we're all about here on The System Is Down. So this is Everybody Hates Me. I guess I don't need to talk about it. I'm familiar with it. I'm not going to necessarily listen to the whole thing because I know it pretty well, and I've been kind of obsessed with it since it came out. So we'll listen to Everybody Hates Me. If you're joining the listening party, hit pause right now, and let's get into that. Everybody Hates Me, track 2. Na, 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 na. All right, so that was Everybody Hates Me. Man, that song, like I said, is what kind of got me into him. That song, as far as the message and the instrumentation, I'm going like, they're both up there. Like, the scale is kind of elevated there for that song, because that's a catchy as shit song. Like, the instrumentation, his flow, his hook, everything is really catchy and well made, and he also has a great message in it, in my opinion. The whole song, I mean, you could probably guess based on the title, Everybody Hates Me, but it's not just saying, oh, woe is me, everybody hates me. It's saying, it's pointing out, he's basically giving a direct response to the YouTube comments and everybody's claims about him and all the things that people are saying about him as he started blowing up. He even calls out, even like the conspiracy people. He says, I heard he's Illuminati. It's like, and I as you know, I dabble in the conspiracy world, and I enjoy it. And things used to be different on YouTube, where conspiracy stuff was much more prevalent and easily accessible. Now they've squashed it all down, which is a conspiracy of its own, in my opinion. But he said, I heard he's Illuminati. I heard he's related to Trump. I heard he's reptilian, probably. I heard he kills kittens for fun. Then he says, they're all lies. All that shit's lies, which I find... It's a good tongue-in-cheek thing, because he's got his... he's a person who he can talk about the conspiracy stuff, and my favorite song personally on the album that we'll get to much later on is called Trying to Kill Me, where he talks about his conspiratorial beliefs, and I thought it was we'll get to that. But he clearly is a person who is into like some of the conspiracy world and kind of getting his mind opened on some of these things. But he's still able to poke fun at it. He's still able to be like, oh, these crazy conspiracy theorists are saying I'm probably Illuminati, and these Democrats are saying I must be related to Trump, and crazy conspiracists again, I heard he's reptilian. Like all the people have something to say. And one of my favorite lines at the beginning is when he's saying, "Gay people hate me because when I think something's dumb, I say that it's gay." Whatever. The line about, not that line, but the line about his girlfriend, I think is hilarious. He says, my girlfriend hates me too, and I don't know why, but I still love her. Whatever, forget it. It's great. It's a good, funny song. Like, it's got a good message, and it's really, like, I think he does really good at cutting dark songs as well, which we'll get into more of those here in a moment. But the funny ones, it's kind of like old school Eminem, where it's like, it's edgy, it's funny, it's poking fun at himself, it's poking fun at everybody, like nothing is sacred, let's just have a good time, make a good song, and have a good laugh at the world, because the world is crazy and fucked up. It's great. It's a great song. Everybody hates me. And let's see, what are some of the other lines? I could probably look at the lyrics to this, but I'm sure that I know the vast majority of them offhand, if I can think of them. But even in the video, he's just like scrolling through the YouTube comments and yawning, and it's just a nice, lighthearted, funny look at where we are right now, where everybody's outraged about something. Everybody is going to attack you for something, no matter what you say. Even if he was saying the thing that the left or the I don't know, the crazy liberals enjoy, or even the crazy right people enjoy, because I'm putting it out there. I'm not either, but the crazy extremists on any side of anything are going to find something to hate about you, and he pokes fun at both of them. He's kind of like the South Park of rap music right now, which is great. It's fantastic, and I love it because he puts in the comedy, and it's hilarious. So that's Everybody Hates Me. Let's move on to track number 3, which is Bully. If you're a part of the listening party, please pause, and here we go. All right. That was Bully, track number 3 on Tom Macdonald's Ghostories. And this song I really dig. It's got a nice, hard-hitting, dark vibe to it. The musicianship is great, in my opinion. The message is great. It's not quite as deep and hard-hitting as some of the other songs. It's not quite as controversial necessarily. However, he is talking about primarily how he was bullied as a kid for being weird, and he was a loner kid, and he was trapped in the middle between like the black kids calling him whatever, and the white kids calling him wigger, and both of them calling him wigger and whatever. Everybody having a problem with him, and then he grew up, and he's like, I'm trapped in the middle between these people and these people who are saying two different things about me, and then I grew up and realized that fitting in is completely stupid, and there's no point to it. The reason being, because I don't fit in now, I'm weird now, and y'all are blowing up my shit, or for better or for worse, like you're still paying me, and success is, you can't bully a successful person, really, is the point of this song. He talks about how he didn't fit in with anyone. Now they both call him Culture Vulture, which is another song on the album. He says that they call me a weird, call me a punk, call me whatever, call me stupid. Just kind of like looking back on his history and pointing out that, you know, you can make fun of me now, you can try and bully me, but it doesn't matter. I've lived with that my entire life, and now, because of my weirdness, because of the things that people didn't like me for as a kid, because of that, I'm a rich and successful person, and you can make fun of me all you want. It's not going to stop me, because I'm Tom Macdonald, bitch. That's a quote. But it's a great song. I really enjoy that one. And I can relate to a lot of it because I was a weird kid, and have grown up to appreciate my weirdness too, which is probably why I appreciate Tom Macdonald so much, because he's just like, yeah, I'm just going to do me, and you can just, you can have a problem with that, or you can not. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't change anything about me. It's fine. But some people like me as I am, and I'm just going to keep doing that, which is great. It's awesome. That's one of the main points on this album, really, is just I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about. I'm going to do what I want to do. It's like, again, going back to the Eminem and the Marilyn Manson stuff, he made a point in this song. He said, Marilyn Manson brain, but with some braids in my hair or something like that in this song, which I thought was great because it's like old school Marilyn Manson. Like, it's not the same style of music, obviously, but it's like the mentality that got people into Marilyn Manson was, we're the outcasts, we're the weirdos, we're just going to do what we do, we're going to enjoy our lives, we're going to say what we want to say, we're going to push the boundaries, we're going to talk about the system, we're going to talk about the man, we're going to bash on things, because that's real and that's raw and that's honest. And especially now in 2019, I feel like we need more of that. And that's why I feel like this album is important. And it's going to do a lot more of it as we move along, as you'll soon find out. But I think it's important to say what you think. Say what you think about everything. And if people take offense to it, I'm not sorry, I guess. Like, if it's right, it's right. And if you are offended by that, then turn it off. Turn off the album. It's fine. All right, the next, speaking of... Oh, boy. Excuse me. Speaking of offensive, the next song, it's called Be a Man. And, whoo boy, this is probably the most controversial song on the record. And if he ever... There might be a reason why he only releases it on hard copy. I don't know. Is he going to put this song out as a video online? I don't know. But if he does, he's going to take a lot more flack than he's gotten for any of the others, any of the racial stuff, because this one's pretty edgy, I'm just going to say. But if you've got the album, again, let's do it. Let's jump into it and listen to Be a Man, track number 4 on Tom Macdonald's Ghostories. Here we go. All right. That was Be a Man. Be a Man, track number 4. So this song is pretty controversial. I feel like the music's okay. It's fine. It's a nice, solid, dark beat, which is fine. I feel like the message is very poignant and very hard-hitting, very edgy. Very, very edgy, almost to the point that I don't know if it had to necessarily go as far as it did, but I think it's good. So basically, the premise of this song is talking about the transgender movement and men feeling like they need to. And I've talked about this on the show before. Like, I honestly feel like it's not necessarily a matter of, I don't know. I'm trying to sympathize. I'm trying to understand what you guys what you gals are going through. But it's like, it's not so much a matter of you have been a woman since birth and you were trapped in the wrong body. I feel like it's more, society beats you to the pulp and it makes you feel like you're wrong no matter what you do if you're a man. Like, we had an episode on masculinity not that long ago where it's like, if you're weird, then you must be a woman. If you are, if you have any appreciation for art or beauty, then you're a woman. Or if you just feel wrong for being a man because toxic masculinity is a thing, so being a man is wrong, being a woman is right. There are some things in the song that I think are very, very pushing that narrative pretty hard, where it's not like anti necessarily, but he's saying things like, please remove my testicles, they produce testosterone, please remove my Adam's apple. And he says, I think they'd like me better if I was like all the women. I think that's kind of the point. Like, he takes that idea, which I completely agree with fully. He takes the idea that it's wrong to be a man these days, and we're not allowed to be men. And then he says some funny things about, just the trans stuff. It's not like over the top edgy necessarily, but it is here in 2019. It is. He's saying you should just be a man. Like, you can do whatever you want, but I'm going to be a man. I'm going to be the man that you aren't. I'm going to be the man because the world needs men. There's nothing wrong with being a man. Just because the world says, hey, you're toxic if you have a penis and some balls, as he says, that doesn't mean that you're wrong. That means that the world is wrong, and you should just be a man. I'm not trying to, like, tiptoe around it. I can't remember all the exact things that he says, but there's a lot of, like, edgy joke punches in there about men deciding to be women all of a sudden, and it is it's controversial, but it shouldn't be, because we should be allowed to be men. We should be allowed to be weird men and flamboyant men and happy men and even gay men and all the men. You should be allowed to be a man, and that's fine. And he's just saying, be a man, and I'm gonna be the best man that I can be. And you are to the point where you're gonna chop it all off, and because society has told you that it's wrong. And I think that that's valuable. It's important for the next generation to hear somebody be edgy and say something like, hey, you're a man, and that's great, that's fine, stop chopping your dicks off. All right, the next song is one of my favorites personally. This song is available on streaming services. It came out a few months back. It's called Sad Rappers, and we'll get into that right now. So if you're in the listening party, press pause. Let's listen to it, and let's break it down afterwards. This is Sad Rappers. Okay, Sad Rappers. Sad Rappers is track number 5, and holy fucking shit, this song in every way, it's so good, it's so beautiful. Some of the songs, like, he put out singles beforehand. This is one of them, and when I listen to the album, sometimes I skip this track just because I've heard it so many times, because I was listening to his singles on repetition long before I got the album. So it's kind of like a weird thing where it's like, yeah, it's a fantastic song. It's one of the best songs, but I sometimes skip it just because I'm very familiar with it. And man, this song, like, listening back to it now, it's so good. It's so spot on. It's so perfect. The music quality, the beat, everything. It's like another dark beat, and it is beautiful. And the hook is very catchy, very well written, very everything. But then the message is, oh my gosh, so perfect. He's talking about sad rappers being the people who are pushing drugs to our kids, pushing depression, which pushes drugs. Like, they give you the problem and the solution to a thing that they created. And he even says record labels working for pharma, like, record labels are pushing out these artists who are saying, hey, depression is cool and whatever, and then they're also pushing out the drugs to go to when you need them, and it's just like a big spiral of keeping people medicated and not thinking for themselves, and it's great. I love the line of toward the beginning where he says, icons we buried are turning in their graves. Like, he calls out, like, Michael Jackson, Lil Peep, Winehouse, and others, Cobain, all these people who've died from, like, drug overdose, and we're pushing out, we are literally selling depression, and then we're selling the solution, which is drugs, which are the drugs that kill people. Like, we're trying to build an industry. We're building, from what he's saying, we're building this. It's in every single genre that you could possibly mention, he says. He says pop, electronic, rap to indie to grunge, all these different people who are saying, hey, you should be sad. They're making people sad with their music, and then they're saying, hey, it's cool to, enjoy these drugs and fix your life or whatever. And he's just calling out Big Pharma, and that the way it plays into the rap industry. And the hook of this song, Y'all Ain't Real, is just so beautiful. He's like, you're taking all these drugs, and we're just gonna keep being real. We're gonna keep being humans, and not listen to the shame spiral that the industries will push us into. But we are only to song 6 now, and again, this is a 21-song album, so we're going to have to keep moving. Got to keep moving right along. So number 6 is called Side Effects. Let's jump into it right now. All right, that was Side Effects. Holy shit. What I said before about sad rappers, he just takes that and doubles the dose down in Side Effects, where he's talking about pharmaceutical terrorists, doctors are salesmen. My favorite line, I'm not living more, I'm dying less and paying for it with side effects. These drugs are not making me live more, they're just keeping me alive. They're just making me die less, I guess, and then I'm paying for it with all the side effects that I'm going through life with. He says, your drugs don't even get me high. I thought dealing was a crime. Y'all just playing with my life. He's sad rappers. He's like, yeah, well, here's a bullet for you. Now here's like, a bazooka for you. Like this one is more straight to the point. We set the stage with sad rappers, and now it's Side Effects, which is how we are an over-medicated generation that nobody wants to talk about the idea that the pharmaceutical companies are making a whole lot of money off of us, big pharma and all that stuff. But Tom Macdonald will, and that's great. It's great to have a rapper who's not saying, hey, let's pour up some syrup and lean. Let's talk about the real shit, the edgy shit. For some reason, it's offensive. It's not offensive to say bitches and hoes and scissor up and lean, but it is offensive to say, hey, stop that thing. Stop those things that are being pushed on you. Think for yourself. And it's great. Side Effects. The musicianship, the instrumentation, I think is around the middle. It's pretty solid. Pretty solid. Pretty catchy chorus and everything, but not the best. But the message is way up here. Like Side Effects or Sad Rappers, both of them were like really high in the middle, and then this one, the musicianship took a step down, but the message took a step up. So it's great. It's a great song. Let's move on to Famous. Track number 7, Famous. Here we go. All right, that was Famous. And man, what a good killer track. What a good killer track. Like, take the message out of it. Another one. It's a banger. It is a well-made, well-crafted, well-constructed piece of art. It is beautiful. And then you put the message into it, and holy shit. This is another really important one, I think, for this generation of people who go on YouTube and think that they're going to blow up and be famous and be successful and love every second of it. This all plays like he's telling a story in the last 3 songs where he's talking about the sad rappers and the side effects and these people who are dying, who are famous, but they're dying from drug overdose and stuff like that. That's kind of what this song plays into, because he's talking about, hey, I am famous, I am successful, but he's also everything he hates. He says, I'm everything I hate. It starts out sounding like a cocky song. He's like, yeah, I've got all these things. Check my page, check my views, check my numbers, check all these things. Check it out. It's everything I wanted. It's everything I hate. And we see that a lot of the time from celebrities and people in these positions, like Kurt Cobain. If you look back at his stuff, he is like, yeah, I finally got what I wanted, and it's fucking awful. It's terrible. So I think it's an important message to say to children these days, like, just be you, be you, be you, be you. Don't try to be famous. You might be famous, and that might be your success, but success is what you make it. Success is what fulfills you, what makes you feel like you are doing the right thing, the thing that you were put on this earth to do. And yeah, that's basically what the song is about. He seems like he's depressed and he's not feeling fulfilled no matter how much he gets and how much fame he gets. And I think it's great. And he's not, I mean, I feel like that he's going to probably skyrocket sometime soon, much more than he has even. And hopefully he holds on to that understanding of, hey, I need to be grounded. I need to be understanding of who I am and what my purpose is here. It's not necessarily just to get a bunch of views, a bunch of plays and everything. I also love that he talks about, he says, Mama, I'm a rock star, Dad, I'm famous, blah, blah, blah. Like he's speaking to his parents and everything and saying, hey, I've got all these things and I kind of hate it. Mama, I don't got far is one of the lines, which sounds like a depressive, hey, I don't know how much longer this is going to last, be it my fame or my life, I don't know. But it's a pretty baller song, and I love it, and I think it's an important one. Let's move on to the next one. We are getting close to halfway through the album, so let's keep going. The next one is I Wish. Let's do it. This is another one that is a single. So if you haven't bought the album, if you're a schmuck like most of the people, if you haven't bought the album, you can go listen to this one while we do. It's called I Wish. It's up on YouTube and all the things. There's video for it and everything. So here we go. All right. That was I Wish. And it's a good song. It's a good radio song, and I feel like that's kind of what he was going for. When I heard this song, I was like, Tom Macdonald is becoming the Macklemore, if Macklemore had something to say, and that's not a diss on either one of them. I've liked Macklemore since he first started blowing up too. I love his stuff. I think he's great, but I feel like he had a couple things to say, and then it kind of just fell off, and now it's just like, yeah, I'm a rapper still, and he doesn't really talk about much. I feel like Tom Macdonald with this song, he's kind of got that Macklemore vibe, which is great. It's very radio friendly. It's very pop sensible, and it's also got a pretty good message. It's more of the it starts out with these people saying, I wish it wasn't black. I wish it wasn't gay. I wish it wasn't dumb. I wish I wasn't afraid and stuff like that. It's kind of just like taking a snapshot of his life and trying to relate to people, trying to understand himself, trying to understand everybody else, and saying that we're all humans trying to understand at the same time. Like he even goes back to, like, again, this line of the song before, Famous, was all about him having everything that he wanted and not fulfilling him necessarily. And there's kind of a hint to that in this too, where he says, wait, I think I've got it. I've got all these things that I wanted. I wonder if anybody will care or believe me if I said I hit the bottom. I'm going to jump. It sounds a little bit suicidal, but he's like, hey, I wish on shooting stars and they were like satellites. It's a song. It's a feel good, not a feel good, but a feels song, I suppose. He's made all these wishes. Maybe the stars were too far. Maybe all the wishes that I made blowing dandelions apart. Now dandelions don't grow in my yard. Like it's a feels song which I feel like we can all relate to. I feel like the message on this one is about halfway good. I mean, it's good. It's good, but it's like a little bit down. But the music, the instrumentation, everything's very pop sensible, and I'm kind of a pop whore myself, as I'm sure you all know. So I enjoy the song very much. It's a very it's a movie soundtrack type song. It's good. It's a good change of pace because you can't just be like grungy F everything for the entire album necessarily. But the next song is called Ashes to Ashes, and it also has a video. He released it as a single on YouTube, so go check that out and watch it along with us. Let's do it right now. Ashes to Ashes, another favorite of mine. Here we go. All right, that was Ashes to Ashes. It's a banger. It's a banger. The message doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's just kind of like, I'm a rock star. Don't give a shit. Take this. Here's a good song. Like, I mean, like, we can judge some of Tom Macdonald's stuff on the message, but how much stuff in today's modern culture even has a message at all? Like, especially rap. Like, how much of it actually has a message of poignancy and value? Even rock, which this song is kind of like a rap rock mashup hit. It's just a good, fun ride your motorcycle around and rev it loudly. I'm a badass type song, and it's good. Like I could see somebody walking into WWE and to this song, which it's great. I could see the song being on some, I don't know, some badass video game or something, because it's a banger. It's a banger, and that's fine. It's fine. I don't look for albums that are just straight preachy, so I like that there are some breathers where it's like, okay, shut your mind off for a second. Okay, we thought really hard for the last 45 minutes. Just shut your brain off. Let's just put out a badass fucking Ashes to Ashes. It's a good song. It's great. And now let's get back into some message here. The next song is called Culture Vulture, and it is all about the wonderful world of cultural appropriation, which we all know and love, and we've talked about much on this show, so I enjoy this one. But I'll talk about that more in a moment. If you're listening, it's not it's not online. I'm sorry. Go buy it again. This is not just a big what is it? It's not a big infomercial for buying Tom Macdonald's album. This is me talking about his album, and I know for a fact that most of you don't have it. Probably the vast majority of you don't have it. But Culture Vulture, we're going to listen to it. Those of you who are cool, we'll listen to it together, and we'll be right back. Culture Vulture, number 10. All right, Culture Vulture, Culture Vulture. Good song, very good song. Kind of keeping with the same the rock-ishness of Ashes to Ashes, but not quite the pop-ishness, not quite the banger-ness, because he's focusing a little bit more on the message in this one. Like I said before, it is more about cultural appropriation and all that stuff. He's some of the lines that I made note of are rappers are just popular addicts. Like you're just a drug addict and you're popular, and so because of that, you're a rapper now, I guess. But yeah, he's basically talking about how people are saying that he shouldn't be doing what he's doing. He shouldn't have the braids, shouldn't have the dread, shouldn't have the hair, shouldn't be doing the music. Like, all this is cultural appropriation, which I can totally see people saying because, again, this is an important one here in 2019. Cultural appropriation. I would call it cultural appreciation. Like, if somebody else is doing something and you're like, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do it to the best of my abilities, then it's not appropriating something, it's appreciating something. It's trying to take it and meld it together with what you are and understand them and understand their culture and make us all humans together. Like, that's the opposite of racism, in my opinion. But cultural appropriation is supposedly racism, which makes zero sense at all because it's not stealing something. It's working together with that thing and trying to have an appreciation and understanding of that. And honestly, when I started out rapping, which for those of you who don't know, I do a bit of rapping on my own. I started it as kind of a joke. It wasn't like it had nothing to do with culture or anything or race, but I was like, rapping is just talking fast. It's fine. I can do that. No, anybody can do that. Then I started doing it kind of as a joke. Like, I was basically cultural appropriating when I got into rapping, and I was like, let's just do it because anybody can do it and just prove that anybody can do it. And then I was like, wow, there is a lot more to this than I thought. Like, you have to have good flow, you have to have good rhyme scheme, you have to have originality, you have to have good punchlines, you have to have all the things. Not only that, but I came from a background of rock music more than rap, and I started doing the solo rap stuff on the side, and it was like going from being a vocalist in a rock band, where everybody on stage plays a part, everybody does their thing, to having a track, maybe a drummer, and you have to be the entire show. Not only that, but you have to speak at like 1,000 words a minute, and keep your breath, not be out of shape, and it's a lot harder than people think. So that's kind of my cultural appropriation story, where I was like, that's dumb. I'll try it. Like, even that, like, I was kind of thinking down on a thing, but then I tried it and I was like, oh, I appreciate that. I understand that. And that is why I'm here. Like, I would have never discovered Tom Macdonald if I hadn't I probably wouldn't have if I hadn't started getting into rap my own. And, over the years, probably, I don't know, 15, 20 years later, it's like, here we are. And I'm reviewing rap stuff. Sorry, the drinks are kicking in, so don't judge my rhyme abilities based on my flow in this conversation with myself. But the song is great. It's not quite as much of a radio hit as the last one, but it has the let's say it again. The music came down just a tad, still good. But the message went up more. And there's much more message to this one than there is in Ashes to Ashes. And he's saying, you wouldn't care if I was broke. Like, you would not care about the things that I'm saying, the things that I'm doing, the things that, all this quote-unquote cultural appropriation. You would not care if I wasn't successful at doing it. Now you're just trying to make up things, take shots at me, and just attack me for whatever you can. He says, I'm a rapper because I love hip hop, and rhyming fuck you with love you is part of my job, which I think that's great. It's like, it's true. It's like just calling people out and also loving people and just being real and raw. That's your job. That's your job as Tom Macdonald. That's your job. I think it's great. And he's a rapper, and that's fine. And, I mean, we're living in a day and age where Eminem became the greatest rapper of all time, and he was white, and then he kind of fell off and then tried getting edgy again. And I like Kamikaze, as you guys probably know. But the stuff before that, after Eminem show leading up to Kamikaze, well, Recovery was good. There was some good stuff here and there, but it's like, it's not a cultural thing. It's like, let's appreciate let's all be a melting pot and put things together, and we can have our cultures, we can have our backgrounds, we can have our differences. And if I go out to buy some Mexican food, that's not me trying to steal your culture. Or if I open up a Mexican food restaurant, that's not me stealing your culture. That's me saying, damn it, I love Mexican food. You guys did something really good to humanity, to the fabric of humanity. I'm going to do my best to take that and help push it forward. I'm not making Mexican food to make fun of you. I'm making Mexican food because it rocks. Okay. That's okay. I could rant on cultural appropriation for a while, but we're here to talk about this album, and we're going to get into so much more racial stuff here in the next song on Straight White Male, which is another one that is free online. Go find it. Go listen to it. While I listen to it, pause the show, and let's talk about it right after. Here we go. All right, Straight White Male. Straight White Male. I'm so frail. Yeah. So some things on this song. It's good. I think it's a good song. And I had a friend contact me and say, hey, have you heard this song? They sent it to me, and I was like, yeah, I already heard it. I've been listening to Tom Macdonald for a while now at that point, and they were like, I just find it so cringy. I was like, why do you find it so cringy? Like, I'm down to talk about it. There are some things in it that I could find cringy, sure, and I could see how it could be interpreted that way, but I said, why? They didn't respond. But to each his own. I do find the chorus to be a little bit cringy. It depends on what he's shooting for, really. The whole straight white male, like, just from a musician perspective, like, not even talking about the idea, the message of the song, I find that a little bit cringy, but for the most part, and this is what I think most likely most people interpreted this as, a poor me, I'm white type song, which I don't think it is that at all. He's just talking about things societally that are happening, where we're blaming white people for this thing, white people for that thing, and everything. He's just pointing those things out. He's like, that's not me. I'm not a Nazi. I'm not a racist. I'm not whatever. I like all these things. I like Black Santa and Jesus and Black whatever. I don't know. It was a fun song. And it's another edgy song that digs into race and digs into racial relations and stuff. And dude's a Canadian. Like, from my understanding, he moved down here, and things weren't as crazy up there, and he moved down here, and he's like, "What the hell is going on?" Then he wrote this song. It's not just a big sympathy card for white people, and you got to really dig into it. There are certain lines that are sarcastic. There are certain lines that are he's just saying things that people say. He's saying things that people have thrown out there or things that people interpret in certain ways. He's not saying, "Oh, poor me, poor white boy," whatever. But yeah, he is saying, I'm not the enemy here just because of my skin color. Some people do seem to push in that direction. Like it's same as like the feminist movement. It's like, go women are great. Yeah, woman power. But when it becomes, tearing down men, attacking men, that's the opposite. It's like, can we just go equal here? Things have been different in the past, sure. None of us were part of that. Can we, like, if we're gonna equalize things, can we make it equal? Can we? Like, you don't have to be for black people. You don't have to be against white people, and that's where a lot of people seem to take it. And that's what the song kind of seems to be pointing out. Like, I'm not the bad person here. I'm just a guy who just happened to be white, just like you're a guy who happens to be black. And our ancestors happened to be whatever color they were, and that played a much bigger part back in the day. But let's just talk about it. Let's just be real about it and point out the fact that I'm not attacking you here. My skin color should not be offensive any more than your skin color should be. And to prove that point and drive it home even further, his next song, which is also available on YouTube and iTunes and all those things, is "If I Was Black," which is the other side of the same coin, and I love that he put this out, and we'll talk about it afterwards. But if you want to check it out, we'll do it right now. 3, 2, 1, pause. "If I Was Black." All right, "If I Was Black," the follow-up to "Straight White Male," because everybody said, "Hey, straight white male, you're so frail, you're so sad, you're such a sad little white boy. What a sad boy you are. What a sad little white boy." "If I Was Black" is the follow-up to that, where he is trying to understand the other side. He's trying to do the same thing on the other side, and it's the same thing. He's still got a bunch of criticism, got a bunch of crap for it online because people are like, "Oh, white boy speaking for the black man now." It's like, so you don't want me speaking for anybody? You can't speak for myself, can't speak for you. Not that he's speaking for anybody, but he's saying he's trying to understand. He's taking a position where he's trying to understand where people are coming from that are not him. He even points out that, he talks about appropriation, which is, this is 2 songs after Vulture. He's saying, if I was black, I might be pissed off at me, people like me, for appropriating the things that I made and then that we created and then making it their own, that type of thing. I can understand that. I can see that side of view. And he says things like, "I would never do my taxes. Why support a government that persecute our blackness?" Which is true. It is true. Even as a right-of-center individual, there are things that the government has set up that make things more difficult for black people to do. He's just trying to say, hey, I'm trying to get you. I'm trying to get you. I'm trying to understand you. And if I was in your shoes, I would not be this, what people paint him as, like this Nazi persecuted white boy, whatever. He's saying I would get it. I would be there too. I would feel you. Like we're both humans. We're 2 sides of the same coin. And so there's a bunch of, just like in the last song, "Straight White Male," there's a lot of lines that are kind of, I guess, I don't know, kind of stereotypical, kind of sarcastic, I suppose, in some manners and things. He's just kind of trying to show both sides and be like, if I were there, I would do the same thing. When I first heard this song, I was like, so if you were black, you would be a criminal? Like, that seems wrong. But, I mean, maybe. If you disagree with the government, if you think that the government's out to get you, and you're trying to understand why people would come to that conclusion that the government's out to get them, especially as conspiracy-minded people, individuals, yeah, maybe you would be a criminal. Maybe you want to pay your taxes. Why would you pay your taxes if you feel like the government is working against you? He's not saying that they're right in doing any of these things. He's not saying that all black people are that way. He's saying, I would probably be that person. I would still have this same, like, anarchy mindset, this same buck the system mindset. And if I was black, it would just be in a different package. And I think it's great. I think it's good. And I've seen some other reviewers on this song, some reaction people like No Life Shack and some of the others who have been like, that's not me. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? No, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, exactly. That's how I felt in Straight White Male too. There's some things where I'm like, yeah, I can relate to that, but there are other things where it's like, this is just a generalization thing. Yeah, of course, because he's not you. He's not going to be you. He's not me in Straight White Male, which I am. He's not necessarily representing me. So if he says, if I was black, this is how I would feel, it doesn't necessarily represent you. He's not saying blacks all believe this, blacks all think this. He's saying, if I was black, the title of the song, this is how I would feel. All right, let's get into the next one, which is another fave of mine. Let's take all this very extreme, controversial, edgy stuff, and let's just make it fun. Next song is called Fake Fans, track number 13. Let's do it. Here you go. So Fake Fans, great song. Great, fun, hilarious song. Probably, I would say, the funniest track on the album. This song is literally just he's basically just reading YouTube comments out loud. People being like, please don't change, please be what we want you to be, please. It's so well done, so well written, and he does it in this whiny voice. Please don't. Throughout the whole, all the verses where it's them talking, and it's just so good. It's so laughable. It's not going to be a radio single, obviously, but it's a good, lighthearted, still punch in the face to the people who are never satisfied with anything. He says things like, please don't talk about politics. Please don't talk about God. Please don't get no more tattoos. I think you got a lot. Stuff like that. Please don't use auto-tune. Please don't work with bigger name rappers. Please stay underground please be the thing that we discovered you as. Please be that forever, even if you don't make any money. I'll buy your shirt. I'll buy your CD. And please sign it for me. Also, he's just talking about needy fans, fake fans, people who are like, oh, I liked you because of the one thing, the thing that made me like you. And please continue doing that. Please don't change. Please always be the same thing. And even says please don't talk about mental health. I've never had depression. People say, just people who are like, it's not the thing that I'm looking for. It's not we've talked about, Everybody Hates Me, which is a big, fun, happy, still kind of edgy song. I Wish is also a bigger, whatever, happy song, I suppose, production-wise. But then we've got these dark songs, and I can only imagine, if you have this much of a diverse range in being the edgy person that you are as Tom Macdonald, I can only imagine how the fans are in being like, hey, do that same thing again, but don't completely do the same thing, because we've heard that before. Don't change it, but make it better, but make the same thing. It's like freaking Star Wars fans. You can never please a Star Wars fan, because it's either too much like the originals or it's not enough like the originals. That's how art is. He's just sick of fake fans trying to destroy what he's doing. He's like, I'm doing me. I've been always doing me. And you came in at a certain point. I'm not going to stay at that certain point just because that's where you came in and that's where you're stuck. I'm going to keep doing me and keep growing as a human and making things bigger and better as we go. So that's great. It's a great song. I love it. It's a good, lighthearted mix up in the middle here after some very, like stressful political, racial commentary and stuff. Next song is called Fool's Gold, which is another one. It's not online, so let's listen to it together if we're cool, and the rest of you are fake fans. Here we go.
Yeah. Oh, man. They ain't gonna like this one. Okay.
All right, Fool's Gold is a fun song. It's did it need to be on the album? Not necessarily. It's like I said before, some songs feel to me like Macklemore, if Macklemore had something to say. This song doesn't necessarily musically feel like a Macklemore song, but message-wise it does. It's kind of going back to the thrift shop days of you don't need to be the bling, the blah, 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 all the fake gold, fake diamonds, fake boobs, fake whatever, fake Yeezys. You don't need to be that. You just need to be real. Like, that's kind of the whole point of the song. It's kind of, it's one of the less interesting songs on the album. I'm not saying that in a bad way, because that's not because it's not a good song. It's because the other songs are just great. They're just higher outside on the charts in my mind. But this song is again a good message for a generation. I don't know why, but message is the first word to go when I'm drinking. Good message for a generation. Talking about, like, don't listen to all these people who are, all these rappers who are saying, hey, I've got this gold, this bling, all this everything. Like, the rentals, it's fool's gold. It's he says, I know that's not real. I know exactly what you paid for it online. That's just whatever. It's just trash, and you're teaching people to believe that is what success is. And as we've covered many, many times in other songs here, it doesn't matter. It's not going to make you happy. It's fool's gold. Just let it go. Leave it alone. Stop being fake. All right, next song is Hitting a Woman, and I could talk about it right now, but we'll wait till after. So if you're listening, here we go. Ding, ding. Here we go. All right, so Hitting a Woman, it kind of goes back to straight white male, where it's like, I get the point, I get what you're going for. If something's cringy, it's just the presentation of the message that you're saying, and I like the message that you're saying. He's not saying hit a woman, obviously. Well, I guess not obviously, because you haven't listened to the song, most likely. But hitting a woman is all about, like, you want equality. He's basically, the whole song is just him telling stories about how women have wronged him, and he would, if a dude had done that, they would. He just says, "You're lucky that my mama taught me not to be hitting a woman," and the only cringy thing is the chorus, in my opinion. Just the hitting a woman, like, it feels weird to be sing-songily singing hitting a woman. But his stuff in between, I think, is good. Yeah, you're a bad bitch, whatever. You know how that would play out in a fight. He's saying, like, he's talking about these stories where people who are females have really, like, pushed him to the edge and done terrible, terrible, terrible things to him. Where, if you're asking for equality, if you're asking for people to treat you equally, then you would have been punched in the face a long time ago. That's all he's saying. To me, it feels a little bit forced, just a little bit. Like, I agree with the point, and I like the point. However, it kind of feels like, hey, what's the next song going to be about, bro? Let's talk about hitting women. Like, that'll piss some people off. This one probably will come out on YouTube just because it will piss people off a lot. But I think it's a pretty decent song. I think it is a good message, but there's some parts where it's like, it's almost funny. It's almost laughable. Are you really that passionate about wanting to hit women? I know that you're. I know that you're just wanting to rile some feathers and wads and panties, which I can appreciate fully. But and you're not wrong. There are plenty of things that my wife has done. If a dude did it to me, be a different outcome. But yeah, it's a fun song. It's interesting. It's an interesting point. I guess it should be talked about. But it's a strange way to do it, in my opinion. But I know. I get it. You gotta be edgy, and that's good. That's why we like you. That's great. All right. Next song is called Middle Fingers. Let's do it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause it. Let's go.
Guess who?
All right. Middle Fingers. It's another badass big dog song. I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about me type song. And I want to say, as we get into this one, I really appreciated that he did not use, if you're following Tom Macdonald, I appreciate that he did not throw on the two what's his name? The guy that he dissed. The two Mac Lethal disses. He was in a rap battle beef with Mac Lethal, and he did a phenomenal job, I'll say. He did great. However, I'm glad that those songs weren't included on the album, because I hate when people just throw them on because they're good songs. Like, if it doesn't fit, if it doesn't make sense in context with the rest of the song, I like that we're getting back, at least he's getting back to, write an album, make it make sense coherently all the way through the album. Like, he kind of has a thread of storytelling or like plot points in this album. And the Mac Lethal diss songs were good, but they wouldn't make any sense on this album because nobody would have any idea what you're talking about. Like Eminem had a battle with Machine Gun Kelly. Then Machine Gun Kelly put out an EP that was like 5 or 6 songs. One of the songs was his attack on Eminem. And it's like, what is that doing here? It is a good song, yes, but why is it here? Like, it doesn't make sense in the context of all these other things. It's just a thing that's there. It doesn't relate to anything. But he did not include the Mac Lethal diss songs, but he did use some lines from the second Mac Lethal diss track, which I thought was cool. It's a nice wink, in my opinion, of like, these are good lines. I'm going to use them still on a thing that's going to make money. It's not just going to be a throwaway song. Not that they're throwaway songs. It's not just going to be, a one-off song. I'm going to use these lines because they're good lines. That was cool that he threw this in there. I also liked that okay, so this song, I feel like, on the scale of good message and good artistry, they're both kind of middle ground. Like, it's a trunk rattler, good song, fun, badass. I'm a badass song, arrogant rapper dude, great. But then you get into the verse where he says, I feel like M went soft, I feel like Dre got old. He's calling out some people. They're small call outs, but just like I did at the beginning of this episode, I feel like M went soft. I feel like Eminem got really soft because he used to be the edgy one. He used to be the one that people would be like, oh, we need to, Tipper Gore will try and, censor things, and she'll be the one to push for parental advisory stickers. And he was the punk rock back in the day, and then he got to the point where he even called out Tipper Gore for it on the Eminem show, and now he's to the point where he's like, hey, well, Donald Trump's a bitch. He's just an orange guy. He's a big old bitch. It's like, no, it's not punk rock. That's not anti-establishment. That's not fuck the system like we're looking for. This is. And saying, I feel like I went soft, I feel like Dre got old. Yeah, they did. And he's probably going to take some heat for that once it gets out into the world of YouTubes and things. But yeah. He also says, too savage for a manager to manage. Never sign a deal. No record label's going to own me. Which, that's honestly what really got me inspired to purchase things from Macklemore back in the day when he was doing his stuff. His stuff was never like super edgy or anything, but it was really well crafted and everything. And just going to Walmart and picking up his album, looking on the back and saying, he's not like the line of credits are like one line. Macklemore and Ryan Lewis. Yes, they made this album. That's what it is. Here you go. That's what I liked about Macklemore because that's punk rock. That's the punk influence that I think is cool. Where saying, hey, I don't need this thing. I'm going to do me because I'm not putting limitations. You can keep your money. I'm not putting limitations on my thing, on my me that I'm putting out into the world. I think that's great. And that's why Tom Macdonald is something that a generation needs to hear about. A lot of metaphors in this song, a lot of just different nice little quips, little metaphors of punchlines and things that say, hey, I'm cool. I'm Tom Macdonald. It's fun. It's fun. There's some good nuggets in this track, but for the most part, it is just I'm a badass song. The next song, however, takes it in another direction completely. This is I Don't Feel Good, track number 17, another favorite of mine. Here we go. What a sad, depressing song. I get it. I get this song a lot. This song speaks to me deeply. This song, message-wise, in my opinion, my personal humble, not review or opinion, message-wise and music-wise, up there. They're up there. It is, the music fits the message really well, and they're both really well crafted. And it's just Tom Macdonald. I don't know if this is his story. I would assume so because it seems very real, and I know that because I can relate to pretty much everything he said in this song, where you just don't feel normal, you don't feel right in this world, you don't feel like everybody else has got it all figured out, and you feel like, what am I doing humaning right? Am I? That's what it feels like where you feel like you're a completely different thing, completely different species, trying to relate to something else, all these people around you who seem to have it all figured out. That's what this song is about, and from my interpretation, it seems pretty straightforward, but I think it's great, and I would be willing to bet that if Tom Macdonald dug into Myers-Briggs or or the Enneagram or something, he'd probably be a 5 on the Enneagram, maybe. Because I can relate to a lot of what he says a lot, and I am also a 5. But this one hit home for me pretty hardcore, and it's a fave. It's not a happy fave, but it's a fave. Most of these songs are faves, if you haven't figured that out yet. Man, it's a dark one. It's a creepy one and a real one. It feels like he's not. Like, I personally will write from somebody else's perspective to try and tell an interesting story. It doesn't feel like he's writing from somebody else's perspective, because unless he's seen me and is trying to write from my perspective, it feels like he's writing from his own, because these are things that, like dark, depressing things that if you haven't been there, it will just be like, okay, this is a nice, fun beat. But if you've been there, it's like, holy shit, yep. I get that. I get you, bro. I get you, dog. All right. Next song is Walk Alone. We are almost done. And we are almost to my favorite song, which I mentioned at the beginning. Like, I'm cutting out all these sections, so this is actually like a 3-hour episode that you guys are listening to in whatever it is now. Much, much shorter, I'm sure, because I'm cutting out all the songs as I'm listening to them. But next song, Walk Alone. Let's see what we got here. Okay. A couple of these songs I have listened to about 3/4 of and then cut off so I can get back to talking to you. But this one, I've kind of overlooked because it's 21 songs. Since I got the album, I've listened to it pretty much nonstop, but there are some times where I'll jump to one or two. This is one that I've sorely overlooked and was wrong for doing so. This is a great song, very good production quality, very good songwriting, very good lyrical quality, very good message, very good everything. He's just talking about, he says, the main hook is to get where no one knows, you have to walk alone. He's saying be an individual. It's going to be scary. It's going to be frightening. It's going to be you doing what feels wrong. It's going to feel lonely sometimes because you're doing what you are supposed to be doing. He talks about all the conspiratorial things, all the like the microchipping and things that the media is selling you. He talks about magazines defining success, lies on the TV, lies in the paper, and he even says, "Fuck the whole system. That shit isn't real." So, Tom Macdonald, come on, man, come on the show. You almost put the title of this show into your song. The system is down. The system is down. Fuck the whole system. That shit isn't real. And that takes us back to the Marilyn Manson and Eminem stuff that I've been talking about. Like, they were all like, fuck the whole system. That shit isn't real. Then they were like, fuck that part of the system because that's what's trendy right now. And Tom Macdonald is sticking to, hey, I don't think anybody's on your side. I think that you have to go alone. I feel like I have to walk alone and make my own path. And it's lonely and it sucks sometimes, but it's worth it. The system is not in my favor. The Democrats are not in my favor. The Republicans are not in my favor. Nobody's in my favor. I'm just going to be myself and keep doing me. And it's frightening and hard sometimes, but here we are doing our own thing, forging our own path, and being real people. So Tom Macdonald, come on the fucking show. I've spent 3 hours talking about your album now. Let's make it happen. And I'm going to keep saying it. And we're going to get now into my favorite song on the album. It's called Trying to Kill Me. And it might just be because I'm a crazy conspiracy guy, but this song gives me chills, and I find it beautiful that somebody's talking about these things who has a platform, big platform, where people can actually dig into it, and he's not shying down. He's not flowering things up, which is to be expected from Tom Macdonald. But if you have the album, good on you. Listen right now to Trying to Kill Me, and we'll talk about it after. Here we go. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about it. Trying to Kill Me. It's a dark one. It's a dark one. And as somebody who digs into the conspiratorial stuff, man, this dude's got some balls. I'm sure that there will be some people who say, he's just playing victim, whatever. He's just hyping up people, trying to make people think that he's more important than he is. But maybe not. Maybe not. He is getting to a point where he's successful enough that he's gonna have choices in his life, and certain people, it seems, make certain choices and are continue down the successful route of the labels in the media and everything, and other people take a different route and they seem to die. And he's just kind of pointing that out. He's like, I'm getting to that point. And he's saying, if I go too soon, you should know I said they would kill me. He's literally calling it out before it happens, if it ever happened. He's saying, if I die young, it wasn't my choice. This wasn't what I meant to do. You should know right now, I said it. And it wasn't me, it was them. And he says the Illuminati's real. He says he even calls out like Christianity and stuff and says they say you'll go to hell if you ever disappoint Jesus. And I take issues with that too. I take issues with this fear culture. This I don't know. You guys know if you've listened to the show long enough. I am a Christian, but I also and I believe in God and all that. But I also believe that we've got it wrong, and we're not allowing people to be what they are supposed to be. He makes reference to the Truman Show. He says cancer has a cure. He says they killed Biggie and Pac. He says one thing I know for sure, 9/11 was an inside job. He says he talks about schools. You thought they were going to make you a scholar. They made you a fool. They designed the game with a million ways to lose. So much packed into this. And then he says, I'm afraid they're going to kill me for this. I'm legitimately frightened that the powers that be, the people that we don't know, the people who are shutting everything down are like, this might be too far, and maybe I'll push too far. Maybe that's why Eminem and Marilyn Manson aren't pushing that far. That's why they're pushing the narrative. Maybe, who knows? Like, he's just saying, I've just been noticing people get to a certain level, they disappear, they kill themselves. What if they're not killing themselves? What if Biggie and Pac, what if it's not what they said? And he's kind of, this is like the conspiracy theorist anthem, I suppose, because we've got a guy in a higher position with a voice who people are listening to, and he's being ballsy enough at least to say, hey, I think you're right, and I'm concerned, and keep an eye on me. That's all. And it's a creepy, emotional, powerful song, and the music factor is up here, and the message factor is way up there, and it's great. So it's a favorite of mine. I would love to make a music video for that. I have thoughts and ideas for a music video for that. So Tom Macdonald, just so you know, I also make music videos, and I might just make it and send it to you anyway, because I've done that for other people, and see if you want to use it. But whatever. Tom Macdonald, come on the show. I'm just going to keep saying it. Buttholes is the second to last song on this album, and it just came out a few weeks back at this point, and so you can listen to it on YouTube. You can listen to it everywhere else. You can relate. You can be a part of this party that we've been throwing here for the last couple hours. But Buttholes, let's get into it. We'll talk about it after.
Look.
Buttholes. Buttholes is such a beautiful song. It's perfect. It's perfect. Getting back to the funny, the lighthearted, and just kind of poking fun at everybody who takes offense to everything is what this song's about. He calls out everybody. He gets back to the South Park ways of calling out everybody. He even calls out conspiracy-minded people right after trying to kill me. He says maybe the Illuminati just the Illuminati wants the best for their people. He says maybe the Ku Klux Klan just needs some love and a hug. Maybe 9/11 really was an inside job. So he's playing both sides of the fence. He says I don't know. He talks about Christianity. He talks about abortion. He talks about all the hot button topics and issues, and he even talks about flat Earth. He says maybe the moon landing, something or other, and flat Earth. I don't know. It's great. He pokes fun at conspiracy people right after seemingly outing himself as one, and it's great because I can watch South Park, and the things that South Park makes fun of that I find it even more funny and more laughable. That's what he's doing. It's great. And he says, I ain't letting anyone piss in my cornflakes. Stay the hell out of my face, and I'll stay out of your way. He's just saying, all these things that we're doing, everybody's got an opinion like a butthole, and they try to cover it up, and we're just too serious. We're too focused on all these hot button issues instead of just living. He says, not being afraid to die, so I seize it while I'm still awake. That is such a great and powerful line, and that's like when you're throwing out all these funny things, you could just let it be all lighthearted, but the line leading into the pre-chorus leading into the chorus, it's just like the most heavy-hitting and poignant thing for 2019. Just chill the fuck out and enjoy your life. Don't be afraid of dying while you're asleep, so that you seize your life while you're still awake, and just live and be. That's what this song is about, and it is hilarious and awesome, and a great way to almost wrap up this album, because we've only got one song left. But looking back, it's like all these songs, like the way he I'm guessing he didn't mean for it to be this. Well, he meant for it to be this way in the end, but he didn't write them probably one at a time. I don't even think he released them all in the order that they are on the album. But the way that they all flow together, the message that it sends and the story that it tells is just beautiful and beautifully crafted. And by this point in the episode and in the album, if you're not offended yet, then he's got an apology here at the end. It's called I'm Sorry, and we'll listen to that now, and we'll talk about it after. It is also available online, so go check it out while we do this. Here we go. All right. I'm Sorry is a fun way to wrap up the album. It's a great track where he's just saying I'm sorry for all the things I said and did and blah blah blah. Actually, I'm not. And this song, I feel like it's a great way to wrap the album. I can't think of a better way to wrap the album. However, it did hit harder when it was released online as a single, because online as a single, it could be, well, at the beginning of the song, he's saying, I'm sorry for all the things I said, all the things I did, all the blah, 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 blah. And then he switches it around, of course he does, and says, I'm actually not sorry for anything because I'm just being me, and blah, blah, blah. Online, when it's released, you might buy it. you might think that he actually is apologizing for the things that he's done and said and everything. But on the album, that doesn't make any sense because, we just listened to 20 tracks of him saying how he's not sorry for anything, and then get down to the last one. Did he record these 20 songs, and then he gets to the last one, he suddenly has a change of heart, but he still has to put out all these terribly offensive songs? No, of course not. So it's funny. It's a good, fun, just another badass song just to wrap up the album with, where he's like, I'm not sorry that you're offended. I have no apologies for you, because there is no right in today's day and age. There's no right in today's culture. No matter what you do, if you put out straight white male, you'll be called a racist. You put out, if I was black, you'll be called a racist. There is no right. There is no right way to be. So he's just saying that. He's saying, I'm just going to be me. I'm just going to keep doing my thing. I'm going to keep talking about the things that I see in the world. And, screw you if you don't like it. If you can't understand it. If it doesn't make sense to you, then that's on you. It's not on me. I'm not a bad person just because you're a dumb person. All right, so that was that. That was a good long thing that we've done together, and I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it as well. I hope that you already have the album, but if you haven't, I'm gonna go ahead and plug it again. Tom Macdonald, Ghostories. Go pick it up. I believe it is hangovergang.com. Let me double check to make sure. Hangovergang.com is his website, and you can buy it there. Every single album that he puts out is autographed and physical copies. That's all he releases as far as the last two albums have been. I think that's really cool. Very fuck the system, independent mindset. I think that's great. If he releases it on vinyl, I'll buy that too. So, Tom, if you're listening, I'll buy it on vinyl. Also, while I have you here, come on the show. Again, this wasn't just a way for me to, try and get Tom Macdonald's attention, try and get him on the show. This is more than anything. I feel like this is an important album. Like, there's a part of me that loves that he only puts out the physical copy versions of the album, but there's a part of me that wants to be able to share this album with everybody else and talk about this album with everybody else, and I don't have anybody to talk about it to, because nobody can get their hands on it unless they actually put in the work. Again, I think it's cool because he's got all these haters online who are saying all these things, and he talks about them all in the album, but some of the deep, dark, the real in-depth stuff, only the people who care enough to go out and buy a physical copy can have it, and I think that's really cool. So you should. And, free promotion. That's what this episode is. But more than free promotion, this episode is, I feel like this is an important album. Same as like Dave Chappelle's new special, Bill Burr's new special, all these things where we're getting to a point where the edginess, the things that like comedians are supposed to be a certain way, they're not allowed to say certain things. the comedian, the jester, back in the day was supposed to be the person who is, his job is to make fun of the king. His job is to be the only person who doesn't get his head chopped off for making fun of the king, who makes fun of the things that you're literally not allowed to make fun of. You will get your head chopped off if you make fun of it. And now we have comedians being told that they can't say certain things. And we have people like Dave Chappelle and Bill Burr and Joe Rogan and Ricky Gervais and even Bill Maher, who are coming out and saying, enough is enough. Let's talk about the culture. Let's be real and honest about what's going on. There's some crazy shit going on. It's going to take some time for us to figure out what the hell we're doing here. Let's just talk about it in the meantime. Let's make fun of it, as we always have done. All the sacred cows, let's just make fun of them all. And that's what Tom Macdonald's doing. Sometimes it's funny. Sometimes it's dark and edgy. The whole thing is just a beautiful thing that the next generation needs to have. So I kind of hope that he eventually puts it out online, because that is where, things are going. And I hope that it is easily accessible for children in the future. But until then, I tell you, go buy this, go pick up your copy and share it with people, and tell them about it. This is the first time I've ever felt the need to strongly express my enjoyment of a piece of art so much that I keep telling people to go buy it on my episodes, as though it is sponsored, even though he has not even responded to my my messages about coming on the show. But I'd say that's probably enough for this. Check it out. Check it out just because. Not because I want to say Tom Macdonald needs more money. Check it out because I think that it is a good message for a new generation of people, that they need to hear these things. They need to be able to think for themselves and think outside the box and say, fuck the system, fuck all the rules and everything that people are fabricating and are becoming more and more oppressive as we go on. It's just liberty. It's just ownership of oneself and just being allowed to say words. Fucking words, man. Come on. That's all the album is words. That's all the things that the comedians are doing is words. And that is dangerous in 2019. And I pray that 2020 will be a different thing, where some of these Tom Macdonald's, Dave Chappelle's, Bill Burr's will have such an impact that speaks for the people, and the people say, yep, you're right. And they'll finally stand up and say, yep, you're right. We are sick of this shit. Let's just go on and be real people together. So that's that. That's my review of Ghostories by Tom Macdonald. I hope it was just as long and arduous as you expected and tedious as it felt. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very much. And I would be fine with doing more episodes like this if you want, but you probably don't, because this is just me doing what I want to do. If you want more, let me know. You can do so by going to tsidpod.com, sending me a message, or shoot me an email at dan@tsidpod.com. You can also join the forum, which is completely free for everybody, all people, as long as you're not a dick. That's the only rule. It's a place where weirdos like us are talking about conspiracies, politics, religion, things in culture, and doing so in a civil manner and not shouting and calling names and stuff like everybody else does on the rest of Facebook. So you can find that by going to Facebook and just typing in The System Is Down Forum, or go to tsidpod.com/forum. All the links are in the show notes. Check it out. Tom Macdonald, come on the show once again. Gonna keep saying it. I'm gonna say it at least 3 more times in this. What else do we got going on? Working on a documentary about the moon landing. That's fun. Check that out at moonmythlegend.com. It's all about people just thinking outside the box, and some people who think outside the box have concluded that man hasn't landed on the moon based on a bunch of evidence that they've found, and other people call those people retarded, and that's what it's all about. So check it out, moonmythlegend.com. You can watch the trailer. You can check out the artwork and all that stuff. moonmythlegend.com. All right. Also, the Downers Club is our, as I mentioned, what feels like days ago at the beginning of the episode, where it is our patron program where you guys can support the show if you like what you hear here and you want to hear more and you want to see more. You want to see not just my face here talking about an album, but you want to see me talking to other people and doing all sorts of things. If you want to see more of this, you can support the show for as little as $5 a month by going to patreon.com/The System Is Down. And in doing so, you will get a bunch of bonus audio and video content every single week. We do game shows, we do music and TV reviews and movie reviews. I guess we haven't really done music reviews until today, but we do Rotten Potatoes movie and TV reviews. I'm planning on doing more music reviews because I think it's important. And we do extended interviews with our guests and all sorts of fun stuff. So go check it out at patreon.com/The System Is Down. Facebook, Minds, Gab, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, all the things that millennials enjoy wasting their time on. If you're gonna waste your time on it, don't join their platforms. But if you're already there and you're gonna waste your time on it, just go like, share, subscribe, and help the algorithms of the man get this stuff out there a little bit more so we can continue pushing the message of real conversations, humans being uncomfortable together and not being necessarily angry at each other, being civil, having civil discourse, knowing what you believe and why you believe it, and listening to other people, being humble enough to understand and try and understand their point of view in the world. So, do all those things that millennials do with the buttons, the technology buttons. And I guess that's it. I've rambled sufficiently enough for this episode of The System Is Down. Thank you so much for listening. Tom Macdonald, get your ass over here and talk to me. I would love to have you on as a guest and dig into your background and all sorts of fun things. But one more time, Ghostories, Tom Macdonald, check it out, hangovergang.com. We'll say that he was my guest today because I haven't talked this much about one other man probably in my life. But he speaks to me. So thank you guys for listening. You support the show. Tell somebody about the show. Do all the things. And, of course, if you will have me, I will be right back here next Monday morning, nestled safely into your tiny little ear canal like a butterfly about to explode into your brain and kill you. My metaphor game once again is off. But next week we'll be back to form. I've recorded some delightful interviews. The interview that I was talking about at the beginning of the show is recorded, and I have another one coming up next week, and they're both going to be fascinating, and they're going to push the bounds and make people uncomfortable, probably get us kicked off of YouTube. In the meantime, question everything, stay uncomfortable, and I'll talk to you then. Thanks.
This has been a Goulash Media production. goulashmedia.net.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.